Now it's story time. Oh, well, actually, we need to decide what thing we want to do. I think we have a star now.
Do you have a star? Do a star if you have one.
Right.
Star 7.
Dzień dobry. Have you ever been to Poland? We go there often.
Have I found any of the presents on this playthrough?
Okay, so, the king talks about how he visits places. But, he is, like... He seems to be, so big that it would be hard for him to, like, go to any location on Earth, Mm-hmm. I've just come up with a theory here. Whoa, power.
So tiny.
Like, do you think that, like, the king is Gigantamaxed?
Oh!
Maybe.
Well, I don't want to...
Because you know that, like, the Gigantamax Pokemon, like, aren't actually that big. It's, like, an illusion.
Yeah.
Or something. Something weird is going on with that. So, yeah, that might explain the King of all Cosmos' powers.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Banana.
Bah.
Nah.
This is the banana level, I guess? Oh no. He keeps restarting because I keep falling out of the chain.
Oh dear. That's not annoying at all.
A fan of Minions, this one.
Tipsy, what was the story you were telling? You were telling a story, right?
Oh yeah, you were going to say something.
Yes, okay. So I was talking to my friend earlier about the Owl House. I was talking about how many years ago Pendleton Ward, when he started Adventure Time, recruited people who had never been involved in animation at any point before. And this meant that he could get people who didn't know the rules of animation and therefore sort of make up the rules himself.
Mm-hmm.
And themselves, and first there was just so much storyboarder identity with all the indie comics artists that worked on Adventure Time. But as time has gone on, people have seen Adventure Time, they've seen Steven Universe, and they sort of base their young animators have sort of been basing their work around those shows, and then getting recruited by Cartoon Network and Disney. So, and I said, the experience these people have had on the other shows, like OKKO, Steven Universe, shows up in their work. For example, in Obsidian, there were people from She-Ra and OKKO, and you could tell how much those shows had influenced their work. For example, the Woke Up scene was boarded by a She-Ra artist, and you could tell just by how the characters were acting around each other. And then the incredibly expressive parts were done by the OKKO artist. And I said, it's wonderful that there's so many different creative types in Adventure Time, but it kind of makes me wonder if the fact that those shows that they're from seem to have a very strict direction, if it stops them from being creative in their own right. And I said about the Owl House, what I really want from the Owl House is for it to be a creative, organic world that really takes advantage of its backdrop in the Boiling Isles, but I'm a bit afraid it's going to ignore that in favour of the more character-driven stuff, and that it might not live up to its potential. So I said my biggest hope for Season 2 is that they let the storyboarders go crazy.
Well, I feel like that Disney just kind of doesn't do that same sort of thing, because like Gravity Falls and Owl House and DuckTales are very like on model sort of shows. Yeah. Particularly DuckTales, like I literally don't even want to watch it just because I think the style is so bland. And that might be blasphemous to say.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Because it takes the style of those Mickey Mouse shorts, but then it doesn't actually do any of the crazy like SpongeBob quality stuff that those shorts do. So it just seems really weird to me, and I don't like looking at it.
I mean, it's not. Well, like, do you mean like the new ones? Because it doesn't really look like that same style.
Well, it's sort of trying to be that, though. I think that's what, like, you can look at them side by side and sort of see.
Maybe I'll do that.
And I don't know I don't think anybody else is doing it like Adventure Time was. I was talking about this on Twitter earlier. The Pajama War. You should know this episode, Tulip.
I do.
This episode is special to me because you go into Bubblegum's lab and it's filled with so many creative things that the show has never shown before and has never shown since. And you can tell that the storyboarders just entirely made up what was in the lab when they were writing that episode, and they could go in, make a new episode, and write an entirely different lab with an entirely different set of contraptions. And that's what the early seasons of Adventure Time were like every single episode. You'd go into a new part of Zoo, and it would be completely different, have all these crazy people, this entire crazy culture, and that's just a part of what made Adventure Time so unique, in my opinion. And you didn't get that with Steven Universe because it was very much Rebecca Sugar's show. She wanted it to be done in a very specific way, so you never got an identity with the Steven Universe storyboarders or even the OKKO ones because they followed what Ian Jones thought he wanted, which is a very cartoony comic book style show. So I'm like, where is all of this creativity going, and is there anything out there that's really taking advantage of its many writers? So that's something I would like to see in animation.
True that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like in OKKO, I guess, like at least in terms of the visual, like the visuals of it, I feel like the storyboarders did get a lot of leeway because like part of the point of the design of it is that, like, I think Ian said that, like, Ian Jones Corey said that he wanted to remind the audience at all times that they were watching a cartoon, so they, like, you know, exaggerated drawings and stuff are all over OKKO. So that's the kind of thing that, you know, the individual storyboarders should flex their creativity with, you know?
Yeah. But I felt like because OKKO was... I felt like tonally OKKO maintained the same tone across the series. It didn't really get that creative with its storytelling, if you know what I mean. So even though...
no, I don't... This tone stayed the same, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's tons of fun. It's a brilliant cartoon, but it's focused on very much being a cartoony cartoon that is a big homage to the wacky cartoons of the past and to some shonen anime like Dragon Ball Z as well. And it's tons of fun in that regard. Nothing I would change about it, but it's like you wouldn't get any serious episodes if you understand what I mean. So you wouldn't get something like the Hall of Egress and OKKO.
Yeah, that's definitely a unique thing in Adventure Time. But, I think I do have more to say about that, but I wanted to, while we're still on OKKO, like, mention, like, I can't believe they got, like, you know, the Sonic crossover, and, like...
Oh my god, you're right,
Yeah. I was just thinking about
that. They did a few crossovers. Like, the one with Captain Planet is great. I don't know, but the... like, Sonic, I feel, is their biggest get. Like, you wouldn't ever expect to see that, like, in an American cartoon.
Yeah.
I wish it hadn't been canceled, you know, so soon, because, like, imagine what other crossovers like that they could have done.
Yeah, it's just... They wanted to do this massive, this incredibly ambitious multi-Cartoon Network show crossover, and they couldn't get the two-parter that they wanted. Which is a bit sad, because I'd love to see that episode. But
it was, but the one that they got was still, like, impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so while Steven Universe and Adventure Time were very strict with what could be done in their worlds, OKKO was like, we know we're a cartoon, we want to have as much fun as possible being a cartoon. Here's Billy and Mandy, here's Sonic the Hedgehog, here's Captain Planet, here's Garnet from Steven Universe. We're going to have as many crossovers as possible with what little time we have on our show. and I have deep respect for that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, that's the intent they went in with, of course. Unlike Adventure Time, which had the intent of not ever like having crossovers or even making very many like
references.
Yeah, references that would be indicative of any like time period. They kept it timeless, I guess, which is always like I was really surprised when like was that the Lich or like Finn the Human when Peppermint Butler said selfie, and I was like, wow,
that's Wake Up.
Yeah, that's Wake Up.
Oh yeah.
I always remember that because
I was surprised by that because I knew by that point that they tended to try to avoid stuff like that. So it's like, oh, I guess selfie is just like a permanent part of our language now.
Yeah.
Well,
I first heard the word selfie like weeks before that episode aired, and then they said it on the episode, and I was like, what? When did they make this? It's a new word.
LSP took a selfie next to Gob in the finale.
Yeah. Like, I don't have a problem with it now. I was just surprised by it at the time.
I don't know. It just seems like such an instinctual part of having a mobile camera that having selfies. Oh, that reminds me. In the episode in season 6, characters started texting each other on their phones, and they kept on doing that for the rest of the show. And I was like, that's new.
True.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to say about like in Adventure Time, each of the storyboarders completely bringing their own thing to each episode, even if it's like a completely different tone or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like that's I just love that. Like I've said before that that's my favorite like type of storytelling is when it's like collaborative between people and you can all add stuff and you get some really wild ideas like that. Yeah. Like the whole like so many different aspects of the show's lore and stuff came together to like make Fern into a character. And if you were going to explain like how that happened to someone who wasn't watching, like I'm sure a lot of different people's visions went into that, and it all culminated into this thing. And then,
and then somehow when you watch, it's totally comprehensible if you just watch all the series.
Yeah, and you're like, there's no way that the people writing Finn getting the grass sword all the way back in season 5 could have possibly imagined that he'd be killing the grass demon with Fern by his side in the series finale, but it worked.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's what's good about it. People say that you should like plan for where your stories are going to go, and to a certain extent you should. But there's also a lot of fun to be had in not doing that and just seeing where you and your friends can take it.
Yeah, like when they were doing season 1, they probably didn't plan the origin of the Candy Kingdom in season 10. So, and then stuff like that. I mean, obviously, they never plan Finn's backstory. They always left it deliberately ambiguous.
When was the Susan Strong episode? Like they mentioned Gumball. Was that season 1 or 2?
Season 2. So they mentioned Uncle Gumball in season 2, and they mentioned Mr. Cream Puff in season 1, and they were like, okay, we've established these things. We want to establish PB as Naja's character. So how are we going to make this work? Well, it seems obvious to me that she made all of her relatives, and that's what they went with. But with Finn himself, Susan Strong, Patrick McHale said that Susan Strong was imagined as his long-lost sibling, potentially, instead of being who she was, which is Kara the Seeker.
Mm-hmm.
So they hadn't really decided when to resolve the Susan Strong plot, basically. But they wanted to introduce Finn's dad in season 4, and they held off until the end of season 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I mean, it wasn't, like, they definitely didn't have, like, they weren't thinking ahead when they introduced things. They just, like, and they never stopped introducing new ideas, even, like, all the way at the end of the series, like...
Yeah.
And it's just, what's great about it is that everyone introduces stuff, and then if you want, sometimes you can go back to what someone else introduced and pick it up and build on it, but, like, you don't have to. You can also just do your own thing, and that's what I love about it.
You just gotta look at the finale itself to see the diversity of the writing. I mean, it starts off with it starts off with Steve Wolfhard's epic 1,000 Years Future stuff. Then it's followed by Tom Herpick's present-day war scenario, which is something he loves writing. And then it has Sue and Somri writing an 11-minute trip episode inside the dreams where the characters act absolutely bonkers. And you're like, they just let them do that for 11 minutes in the middle of the bloody finale. And then you have Hurricane Nystrom, who got all these dramatic moments and the flipping bubbling kiss because she wanted it. And then you had the ending with Graham Falk writing all the characters having their very Graham Falk happy ending scene. So you can see the identity of all of these storyboarders across the finale.
Yeah, you know all the storyboarders much better than I do. My point was basically just that, that would be my ideal sort of scenario if I was ever participating in writing a story, is that I'd want a lot of people to bring a lot of different stuff to it.
Yeah, and you'd have to build a world that could support that, which is what Adventure Time did. I think harkening back to my original point, I just kind of wish more shows had worlds that could have that sort of creativity. I think the Owl House has some potential there, but it seems to me like the world building is already thought out and it's just not particularly deep. So I don't think it's ever going to really take advantage of its potential, which is a bit sad to me, but hopefully it will at least get its character story right with what little time it has, and it'll be satisfying in that way, even if there's not an intricate lore about the Emperor and the origins of the Boiling Isles.
So I definitely think a lot of people on Owl House are from Gravity Falls, obviously, and I think they kind of, like you were saying with people kind of stick to a style, I think they kind of have the mindset that they just need to make like a mini-series type of show, and I think Owl House won't go on for that long because they're just going to focus on the character story and they're going to conclude that, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like, Gravity Falls and Owl House, and I haven't actually watched DuckTales, but from what I've seen and heard about it, like, they seem to be very tight. Like they know exactly what they want to do, and they go right in for that instead of sort of exploring around.
Yeah, but what I liked about DuckTales is that Scrooge McDuck has gone on millions of adventures. Like, he's God knows how old, and he has this insane history. So in any episode, you could just say, Scrooge McDuck went on an episode once where he flew on a giant mushroom to the top of a mountain and paid tribute to the sun gods or something, and then you could make the entire episode around that, and that's what made DuckTales pretty interesting to me. That adventure aspect and that intrigue of Scrooge McDuck himself and his own history, it just seemed a bit quite fleshed out to me. So it's a bit sad that DuckTales ended, but from what I heard, it ended at a pretty good place. Should we?
We should end this. Do you have any? is that your last thought, or like?
We should end this here, and then we can invite Dom, because Dom's patiently waiting for us to finish.
Yes, I noticed that. All right, end the video.